Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I'm going to be ranking some of the best champions in the game, the most essential ones to build. That is revivers. We're going to rank them for each rarity, giving you my top 5 for rares, epics, and legendaries. We're not going to do mythicals because, well, there's that many. There's only 5 of them, and I think there's only one that probably revives anyway. So that's all we're going to do. This video was, by the way, inspired by Ash. This is what he thinks of my rankings. He's not impressed, but he did this video a couple of months ago. So I want to do my take on it. I did write down my list of champions before watching his video. I have watched his video as well. And it's interesting. We agree on a lot, but there were also some pretty big differences too. So I'll be interested to see if you watch it and watch mine. I'd be curious what people's preferences are. But hey, let me give you my top rankings. And let's go. Let's start with the rares then, and we'll start from the bottom and up. The bottom rare, I honestly really don't like at all, but there's not many revivers in the rares, and we're doing a top 5, so we have to include Hara specs. Personally, not a fan. Now, his base stats actually not bad. He's got good high speed and tons of HP. He comes in with a single target revive, 30% HP and turn meter on a 5-turn. Pretty weak, and then he's got a 15% turn meter boost with the small 15% version of increased speed on all allies, and then a 30% chance per hit to put the small 2.5% version of poison for 2 turns, and 15% speed in arena battles. Hara specs, he's a void rare, so he might be a little bit tricky to get. Personally, I'm really not all that excited about him. He's definitely number 5 by a long shot, especially because you've got Broadmaw, who doesn't make the top 5 epics at all, but is actually a very solid epic reviver to fill in for that faction in faction wars and secret rooms, etc. So Hara specs, I don't know. I probably actually wouldn't build him, but he actually has to come in as number 5 just because of that. In 4th place, this one surprised me. But basically how I did it, I was going through like revive on Hell Hades and like figuring out what people could do, etc. And picking them out here. This one really surprised me. But I actually think he's really good, and I'd really overlook this champion, to be honest. And that's Grinner. He is a Force Affinity rare for the Undead Hordes. What I love about Grinner, he's actually got pretty poor HP for a reviver, but he's got really good defense for a rare. Like, this is a rare. And 110 base speed, that's massive. He's as fast as Arbiter, which is just crazy. But he comes in, and he's got actually a really good single target revive. It's a 4-turn. That's right, 4-turn cooldown. Brings them back with 50% HP and a 20% max HP shield as well. That's brilliant. Remember, this is a rare. Like, Hara specs is bringing them back with 30% HP. He's basically bringing them back with over double that effectively. Then he has Shock. He's an AoE attack that books to a 3-turn. 20 books to a 50% chance to remove 1 random buff from each target. Obviously not an amazing move, but I think about early game arena, even early game dungeons. Like, you might run up against some enemies in waves that put out, like, maybe they put out block damage or they put out increased attack, something scary like that. He's got a way to remove it, which is quite good. Then his A1, 25% chance to put 50%. That's a big version of increased attack on all allies for 2 turns. This is very random. I say most of the time he's going to be probably doing this on cooldown, maybe spamming his A1. It's actually not a bad skill set because he's fast too. So it gives you a way to get increased attack into your team to boost up your nukers. I actually think Grinner is fantastic, and this is a champion I regret not building. I got stuck in Undead Hordes for ages because I really thought that Gore Grab was mostly necessary for beating this faction, and I didn't pull Gore Grab for absolutely ages. Grinner, I think absolutely makes it work. You slap him in there with something like a Vogoth or Mausoleum Mage, I don't know, any solid healer, even, yeah. You could totally make it work and really smash that faction. So totally slept on him. Grinner comes in as number 4. In my opinion, much better than Hara specs and worth building. In number 3, a champion I really like, and that's Gear Grinder for the Ogryn tribes. Again, massive base HP for a rare, though his defense is low and his speed is low, but he's got good resistance as well. This guy, it's just got solid revive, right? 5-turn cooldown, 50% HP, 50% turn meter. Again, that's really good. It's quite comparable to a lot of the epics we're going to look at. It's a solid revive that brings people back, getting close to taking their turn and hopefully survivable enough to take a hit. It really makes a difference coming back at 30% HP, 30% turn meter. pretty terrible. Like you're a good way off taking a turn, and you can very easily be killed again. This gives you a good chance to survive. His A2, simple enough, 15% max HP heal, AoE. Very simple. Then his A1 puts continuous heals on himself if it crits. So it can be a little bit awkward to build with crit, but it does mean he's very easy to keep alive, guys. He heals himself tons, obviously, with this and with his A1. And he's got massive base HP, so it's very easy to build him to heal up, keep alive. He's got a great single target revive. I think he's simple. Good faction crypt aura. Simple, straightforward, tanky healer that's survivable. One fun thing you can do is you could even build him high resistance. It's like a mischief tank with his A1 in Hydra, and that can be quite cool. That's something I did before when I beat Hydra normal only, but Hydra normal with only rare champions, which was horrible. I don't recommend it, but Grinner was in there. Sorry, not Grinner. Gear Grinder was in there. Maybe Grinner could have gone in. Probably wouldn't have been too bad. Next up then, in second position, I'm going to put in Reliquary Tender from the High Elves. This is probably the classic rare people think of when they think of revivers. Again, solid base speed, great HP, defense a bit low. My problem with Reliquary is that her revive is actually pretty terrible. Now, she still makes it number 2 because of her A2, but the revive is pretty bad. 5-turn cooldown, 30% HP, 30% turn meter. It's a much worse revive compared to, let's say, Gear Grinder we just saw with 50% HP, 50% turn meter. Makes a big difference. Her revive, honestly, kind of sucks. But early game in dungeons and, you know, some early game Doom Tower, that might be enough just to get someone back on their feet. You get on top of beating the waves and it's okay because the waves are so slow. What makes her second place for me, though, is her A2. This move is actually super good. 3-turn cooldown when booked. Removes all debuffs from all allies and puts 15% continuous heal for 2 turns. So 30% max HP heal total, plus that full cleanse on a nice short cooldown. That's really strong. Small chance of the small decrease attack on her A1, which is okay. But yeah, Reliquary Tender, she's solid, she's good, but as a reviver, fairly poor, but as a healer that also happens to have a revive and cleanser, very, very strong. And then finally, my number 1 spot for rares, he's the newest one in there. I used him in the Deadwood Jedi faction games. Tree Shield not, I'm actually going to give number 1. So he's got a nice, solid enough balance of the HP and defense. That's cool. And solid base speed at 101. He comes in, his revive is 2 allies on a 5-turn cooldown, 25% HP and turn meter. So that's bad, but it does give them a 20% max HP shield as well. So this is what I like. They're basically coming back with 45% HP, and it is 2 allies, which I think is really valuable for a rare. On top of that, his A2, it's like Gear Grinder, but better. 15% AoE max HP heal, but also gives 30% increased defense. It's the small version, but this, I think, especially early game, is pretty impactful, where you might not have that many good increased defense champions, can up your survivability by a good bit. Then he has a triple hit A1, which I think, again, is super useful. Give him Giant Slayer, he can do some good damage, or don't even bother, put him in the support tree if you want. But the triple hits either way is going to be very nice against the Fire Knight and helping you take down that shield. And then each hit can put the small version of decreased attack, so it's a bit more consistent overall than Reliquary Tender. Yeah, look, the thing I like about Tree Shield now, honestly, is that it's the double revive with that shield is pretty good and the increased defense. So, yeah, I'd say the top 3, even the top 4 with Grinner, honestly, are all pretty close. They all have nice things about them, good things that they do, and some really solid champs in there that can carry you a very long way in this game. Now we move on to the epics, and there's actually quite a few epic revivers now. Certainly from when I started the game, the number of epic revivers has absolutely ballooned. And we've got some really good ones in there. The first one I'm going to mention was not in the game when I started, certainly not. And that is Old Hermit Yorg. I think he's extremely underrated. So again, he's got solid enough base stats, solid enough base speed, nothing crazy, but solid. But he comes in, his revive, I honestly think is great. 5-turn cooldown, 2 random allies, again, with 60% HP, 40% turn meter, and perfect veil. I think this is super valuable. It's 2 turns as well. Perfect veil gives you damage reduction, so that's great. It actually, you take less damage under perfect veil. That's like the main difference between it and veil. Fantastic, brilliant, helps you stay alive. But also, they can't be targeted by single target attacks because they have that perfect veil. It's just fantastic. This is a great way to pick up your team. Absolutely brilliant revive. Super, super good. And you can see it is a really massive step up from the rare revivers. This one's very good. He also has a 50% increase attack on all allies for 2 turns and a 20% turn meter fill. Sort of like a mini Arbiter move right here, which again is really nice. And his A1 has a 40% chance when booked of HP burn, which is solid enough. But yeah, Old Hermit York, I put him as number 5 just because there's a little bit of conflict in his kit. Like if you want to place the burn, you're going to need to build some accuracy. And if you're building some accuracy, he's going to have less survivability. If you want to build him sort of to go fast and turn meter boost and give you increased attack, again, he's going to be a bit squishier. So that's a little bit of conflict with Old Hermit York, but man, it's just such a good revive. There's great utility in every single one of his moves. He's brilliant. I'm surprised I'm only putting him number 5. I am going to put Tagore slightly higher than him, but I'd be totally up for people saying, no, you're wrong. Put York, they're even right beside each other. Put York before Tagore. He's better. I'm going to put Tagore slightly ahead just because of the simplicity factor, which is whereas with York, there's a little bit of complexity in terms of how you build him. With Tagore, I think it's really simple. Just build him nice and strong and tanky, and he's going to be buffing up your team, protecting your team, reviving, and doing the job. So his revive, you can see, much worse. 5-turn cooldown. It's a full team revive, which is great. Brings everyone back with 30% HP and gives them a 20% of this champion's max HP shield. Now that is what is interesting. This champion's max HP, and he's got really high base max HP. So you can build that shield to be pretty sizable, and it's very easy to do because he's not building accuracy or anything like that. So that's pretty nice. I like that. I like that a lot. You can actually make him just use this move as well. He'll use this move by default, and that could be either a good or bad thing. As in, he'll use it even if no one's dead. He'll just use it as a shield, and it's a good shield. This can be good. Get yourself out a nice good shield for your team. It can be bad. Your revive is not going to be available when you need it. So pros and cons to this move, which, yeah, it's a spicy one, but I actually like it overall. His A2 is an AoE attack with 30% increased speed, the big version of increased speed on everyone on a 3-turn cooldown, and a 15% of this champion's max HP heal to all allies. So again, because it is this champion's max HP, and he's probably going to be the highest by far max HP champ in your team, it's actually a much more substantial heal than it sounds. So yeah, great heal. It's an AoE attack as well, which is always kind of nice. And has that 30% increased speed buff. Fantastic. His A1 then, double hitter, that can put increased defense on the ally with the lowest current HP. So helping your squishiest member survive. Obviously nowhere near as good as that perfect veil, but still good. One thing I didn't mention, his passive, 10% less damage received by allies with less than 50% HP. What's nice about this? Well, because he's reviving at 30% HP with a really big shield, it's actually giving you that damage reduction, which is applying to that shield as well, so helping it stretch further. And then he comes in with a nice heal on that short cooldown on his A2. 25% HP in all battles as well. Tagore is seriously good. He's a great champion. But it's difficult to compare him to York, but I do rate him slightly higher. I think he's really, really good. Now we come to some OGs. I'm going to go to the Bannerlords next and talk about Ursula the Mourner, who I think is really good. Again, her base defense is probably the big thing that lets this champion down, but she's got great base HP and solid speed and decent resistant accuracy as well. So she comes in. What does she do? An absolutely amazing AoE revive. 5-turn cooldown. All dead ally. So the full team, 75% HP, 50% turn meter, 60% increased defense and 25% strength in the big versions of both of those buffs on all allies for 3 turns. Fantastic. This has the Tagore effect where she does use this by default as well. So again, you've got a 5-turn cooldown revive that she's going to be using anyway. And then you might not have your revive ready when people go down, but it's giving you massive defensive buffs. It's really strong. This is so good. And it's an incredibly powerful revive. Like this is just, even comparing to legendaries, this revive is absolutely top tier. It is so strong. So this move is really, really good. Then she comes in with Waves of Grief, which is an AoE with 100% chance to decrease attack and also increase attack on your team as well, both for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. This is fantastic. The 50% decrease attack helps you stay alive. The increased attack helps you do damage. She's brilliant in this for Hydra in particular, to get increased attack into your team, decrease attack, revive, and keeping you alive. It's very strong. A1 pushing back turn meter. That is solid enough for quite a few bosses in the game to reduce their damage, and a brilliant 24% speed in Doom Tower's aura. One of the best auras, actually, for Doom Tower. It's very useful for getting through those difficult waves. So yeah, Ursula the Mourner, she is fantastic. No healing in her kit. That is the downside. Nothing to heal your team and keep them up, but so much utility there and such a powerful revive. In second place, I love this champion as well. Rector, I have to say, these top five, I've kind of dissed. There's a lot of epics are not going to make this top five, but man, for me, these top five epic revivers are just extremely good champs, right? Rector Drath comes in, brilliant base stats, 109 speed, right? Solid defense, great HP as well. Brilliant champ here, 30 base resist even too. She comes in, her revive, single target, one ally, but on a 4-turn, but with 60% HP, 60% turn meter, and 3 turns of perfect veil. It is a fantastic revive. Makes sure that the person that you revive, they're very close to taking a turn, and they're very survivable with the HP and the perfect veil for 3 turns. On top of the fact that perfect veil is increasing their resist by 50 and heals them by 10% max HP every time they take a turn. So they're getting 3 turns. They're getting a 30% max HP heal off of that, whilst also, of course, getting the perfect veil damage reduction, not being targetable by single target attacks. That is so strong. Just a brilliant revive for keeping people alive. So powerful for pick someone up, and it's very difficult to take that person down again. For A2 is a nice 20% of this champ's max HP heal. Brilliant. And after healing, puts perfect veil for 2 turns on allies with full HP. Great. That's giving you damage reduction. It's giving you that 50 resist and the healing whenever you take a turn, or continuous heal on allies with less than that. So even more healing. Her A1 can place decrease attack, and this weirdly does go through. It works on weak hits, which is weird. I don't know why, but it does. So it goes through the poison cloud on Hydra. It just does. And then 55 resist in Doom Tower battles aura. This is actually surprisingly strong when you combo it with the 50 here. So you can be giving your team like 105 more resistance just with Rector Drath, just passively, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, this champion, she is insanely strong. Not only for obviously Doom Tower, anywhere you need healing and reviving. Brilliant in arena, very strong in arena because she's difficult to kill, especially if they are bad against force affinity. And yet just the perfect veil messing with their targeting and all of that, and great for Hydra as well because of that perfect veil. That's how you get past the Head of Torment, and there's very few ways to do that in game apart from just rolling the dice. Rector gives you a very consistent way. You might, for Hydra specifically, build her with reflex. That's very strong. But yeah, she is just an amazing champion. And then finally, the number one, another amazing champion. It's Godseeker and Eerie. Probably not a huge surprise to people, but it's tough because there's so many great epic revivers. Honestly, there really are. But yeah, Godseeker is insane. Her base stats, again, a good mix of HP. The highest base defense, I think, of all of the revivers we've looked at so far. And a solid 45 base resist as well. Her speed's a tiny bit low, but it's not a huge deal. But Godseeker comes in. Her damage is based off defense. And Godseeker can actually be built to do really good damage if you want her to. She's a solid damage dealer, which is weird. But she's healing people with her A1, which is nice. Her A2 is an AoE attack that heals a little bit. It's decent. It's not as good as some of the others, but it's solid. But it also increases ally buffs by a turn and decreases enemy buffs by 1 turn. You might not build her with accuracy to do the decrease. You might. It's not bad if you do, but increasing ally buffs is just very strong. That's something that none of the other champs we've looked at today can do. And it really opens up a lot of compositions and turns like the 2 turns increase defense on a 3-turn cooldown. 2 turns increase speed on a 3-turn cooldown. It basically makes those moves 3-turn speed on a 3-turn cooldown. So permanent increased speed makes a big difference. Very powerful move. Then the revives, 50% HP, 50% turn meter, and fully resets the cooldown of all the champion skills that she revives on a 4-turn. Amazing. That really opens up a lot of possibilities because, bearing in mind, it's probably one of your damage dealers that's been killed off because they're the squishiest and they come back with all their damage cooldowns ready to blast. She also has 10% more healing for everyone. That's great. And then a 4-turn cooldown active effect that when someone is about to die, preempts that hit and puts revive on death on them for 1 turn before the damage is taken. So basically a second single target revive. Now it's a weaker one for sure, but still not bad. And she's healing on both of these moves too. So those come together to help you stay alive. Great thing about this, you can use this to cheese bosses like Sand Devil's Necropolis. She revives on death herself and then revives your damage dealer, and you start nuking the boss while he's asleep with things like HP burn for Sand Devils. Kills him quickly, something like a ninja or whatever. Lots of champs that can do it. Anyone with burn, basically. But yeah, Godseeker, just an amazing epic, and she can do things that even legendaries can't because of that passive. Then we come to the legendary champions. And this was, again, kind of tricky. There's not as many as there are epics, but there's a decent chunk. There was a lot of competition for me in terms of number 5. The top 4 for me are pretty much locked in. Solid. But number 5, there was a good few I was considering. I did decide to put Pythion in at number 5. So Pythion, we can see his base stats. You compare that to the epics, and I'm like, wow, this guy is super tanky, right? He is super tanky and solid base speed, tons of resist as well, 60% resist on all battles aura. But Pythion, he's just a super tank, right? And he makes your team super tanky. He's got the full team revive, half HP turn meter, and 25% strengthen on a 4-turn. He has a full team cleanse with 10% max HP heal, but an extra 5% max HP heal for every debuff removed, and gives you block debuffs, so cleanse with block debuffs as well, and a big heal on a 3-turn. His A1 surprisingly good, healing by 5% of this champion's max HP twice, so 10% of his max HP, which is massive, heal on the ally with the lowest HP. Very strong heal, surprisingly good, much better than you think. And then the passive, allies take 5% less damage from skills for each buff on them, stacking up to 25%. A ton. It probably doesn't sound as good as it actually is, but it's a ton of damage reduction. I think one weakness is that he doesn't actually bring that many buffs himself. So he doesn't really activate, he's obviously by himself, he can't fully activate this skill. You need to bring other buff champions in with you, but it's just super strong. So yeah, Pythion, in a weird way, he's, just sort of, he might not even do that much by himself in a weird sort of way. But he is just a mega tank himself. He makes your team tankier, and he just gives them so much survivability. And I think that's exactly what you want, really, from these revivers often, is someone that's super tanky, that is healing and cleansing, that is reviving. It kind of all just merges well together. It's more difficult, I think, when you get revivers. So, for example, I'm going to scorn poor old mighty Uko. Didn't quite make the list just because Uko, he's trying to do a few things. He's trying to debuff and buff strip. He doesn't have any healing. And for me, as a reviver, it makes it a bit more complex and overall not quite as strong, personally, in terms of how I rate them. In number 4, and you'll see that the top 5 revivers are really good. In number 4 position is Elva Autumnborn. Again, really strong base defense and really pretty darn good base HP as well. 110 base speed, which is massive, and 40 resist, so good base stats. 19% speed in all battles aura. Her A3 is not in some ways the strongest revive because it brings them back with 40% HP, 50% turn meter, so the HP she revives at is a bit low. She does bring back allies with increased defense and increased attack. So that does help them stay alive a good chunk. And the increased attack also kind of helps this make your damage dealers a bit more potent because they're the most likely to die. So that's quite nice for Arena. One thing that combos well with this, which isn't obvious, is Leech Strike. Her passive is amazing. Healing each ally by 10% max HP at the start of every single one of their turns. This adds up to a ton of healing. Very underrated. But this other part of the passive, again, is also so underrated. Puts Perfect Veil for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP at the end of this champion's turn. There's a pretty decent chance it's going to be this champion. So they come back with 40% HP turn meter, increased defense and attack. They also come back with Perfect Veil for a turn to help them survive. And then they take a 10% max HP heal at the start of their turn as well. So that is fantastic. It also just really disrupts in things like Arena. That Perfect Veil can really disrupt stuff. It's nice for Hydra as well, where it will help you somewhat deal with the Head of Torment too. So that's all really good. I love this move as well, Nature's Path. When booked up, you have the 100% chance to fully remove all debuffs from all allies on a 3-turn. Then it also puts out block debuffs and a 30% increased speed. So you lose the healing that Pythion does, but you trade that for 30% increased speed, which is very, very strong. And she's putting out tons of healing with her passive anyway. Then her A1, 15% continuous heal for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. Again, this adds up to an absolute ton of healing over time. That really, really adds up. She becomes extremely strong. Like, I use Elva in basically my main classic arena team at the moment. In Tag Arena, I use her in a lot of dungeons for solo or duo type stuff. Well, not solo, but duo type stuff in dungeons because she's cleansing, pumping out tons of heals, and she's got the revive if you need and the speed aura. Just a super versatile champ. I think she's quite underrated, honestly. In number 3 position, then, it's going to be El Clasico Arbiter. Makes it in as number 3. Brilliant base stats, so 21k HP and 1.1k defense. 110 base speed is massive. I think Arbiter gets maybe a little bit forgotten because she is such an OG champ and everyone gets her pretty early on in your raid gameplay career. Another thing with Arbiter, because of her 30% speed in arena battle aura and her massive base speed, she's often built in your fastest gear, right? She's super fast. And we kind of forget about building her as like a tankier type champion. So she could be a really strong tanky reviver. We just don't tend to build her that way because you only have the one Arbiter. But I think there are actually a lot of options there in terms of exploring interesting builds with Arbiter and doing things differently. So, for example, I've seen a lot of people do like Stone Skin Arbiter, where she is a bit slower and stuff like that, but tankier. There's interesting stuff. Arbiter, she has a nice revive, full team revive, 35% HP, 20% turn meter. It's pretty weak. However, it's a 5-turn cooldown, gives her an extra turn if she successfully revives anyone. You can, and she will, use this as just a turn meter boost by default. But yeah, what is nice about this is that she can then combo it into her A3, which is the increased attack, 30% turn meter fill, and then a 25% max HP heal on allies with less than 50% HP. So as a team revive, it's not the best one actually in the game, right? They come back with 20% turn meter, then you boost it up by an extra 30, so 50% turn meter, okay. They're coming back with 35% HP, heal them additional 25, so 60% HP, maybe obviously a bit more with masteries, but 60% HP, 50% turn meter, no defensive buffs, full team revive. It's solid. It's not the best though. What is really nice about this, however, is that at the same time as that's happening, it also is filling the turn meter of the rest of your team. So everyone who is alive is also getting that 20% plus 30% turn meter. They're also getting the heal if they're low on life. And that can be really, really good. Like effectively 50% turn meter to your whole team when she revives people. That's quite nice because oftentimes these revive abilities just put the buffs or the benefits on the specific people who are being revived. On top of that, she has the AoE attack that can decrease enemy buffs, which is decent enough, though it's a 4-turn. And then her A1, each hit 50% chance of weaken, is actually quite solid. But yeah, Arbiter, I think she maintains this really strong spot as either this massive speed booster or a tankier reviver. Yeah, for me, she still stays as number 3 overall. And then top 2, probably not a surprise to anybody, Duchess Lilith, who I don't have, comes in as number 2. So Duchess, super tanky, and the passive makes her even tankier, and your team even tankier. Reduces damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25%, 15% against bosses. This is so strong. This gives you so much survivability when you stack it on top of other forms of survivability as well. Yeah, this passive is nuts in terms of keeping you alive. Very underrated. She has a full team revive on a 4-turn with 70% HP. That's brilliant. And it also gives those allies Veil for 1 turn, except for her. So people are forced to target Duchess, and she's super tanky. So that's not a problem, really. And they're protected then from AoEs by her passive. So it's a very strong team revive, the Veil keeping them safe. It also puts out the continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns as well, which adds up to a lot of healing. So very powerful at team revive. And then she also has this move on a 4-turn. Block debuffs increase attack on everyone and perfect veil on everyone except her for 2 turns. So again, you're forcing targets to attack Duchess, who is super tanky. The perfect veil, that's brilliant for Hydra, is a big place where she's used, obviously, because that perfect veil protects you from the boss. Combo it with a buff extender to give you good coverage and not get feared by Torment. She's providing increased attack and block debuffs. That's brilliant in Arena, especially to enable your attack-based nukers. But that perfect veil, again, gives so much protection. You've got the damage reduction of perfect veil, stack it with the damage reduction of her passive, and the fact they can't be targeted by single target attacks, right? And it makes even squishy nukers somewhat possible to keep alive, which is pretty big. Then her A1 is double attack. That's putting out a shield equal to 10% of her max HP on her and the ally with the lowest HP. Again, this shield adds up to a surprising amount of survivability, both for Duchess, who's mega tanky, but also for whoever's the lowest HP. So there's a lot going on. I don't know if I mentioned the 90% in all battles speed aura, but yeah, Duchess is insane for a good reason. I'd say she is the best champion from Ancient, Sacreds, probably even right now from Primal Shards as well. That might change, but right now she's the best from all of those. There's one that is better, though, in terms of the revivers, certainly overall, and that is Siphi the Lost Bride, who I actually did pull very recently. So again, you can see from her base stats, massive HP and defense, massive base speed at 114 and 40 resist. It's really solid. Siphi has a lot going for her, guys. So she's got the 4-turn cooldown, single target revive, 50% HP, and 55% HP, and full turn meter. So it's possible to have more than full turn meter. You can be like 110, 120% turn meter, whatever, you know. It's a bit weird in this game. So people can go before the champion you revive. But broadly speaking, you bring someone back and they're pretty much ready to smack. They also come back with increased attack and increased crit rate. I feel like the increased crit rate, not super useful, but the increased attack is great for all of those attack-based damage dealers in Arena or Hydra or wherever you are going to use it. That's super, super strong. Then she comes in with one of the best moves in the game as well, Whirlwind Romance, 4-turn cooldown, but block debuffs on everybody, 10% turn meter fill, 60% increased defense, 30% increased speed. This is just insane. So much survivability with the increased defense and block debuffs, and then the speed manipulation with 10% turn meter and 30% speed. This move is just fantastic. Really, really strong. Something that she actually has in common with the Duchess in a way, actually, is by putting out a lot of buffs, this is very strong looking to the future, even with 9-piece protection set, where every buff gives you 5% more damage. That could be really good with Siphi looking forwards. Her A1 is also insane. Single target attack with a 100% chance of placing sleep if the target's turn meter is equal to or above 50% that cannot be resisted. So this is massively strong for Arena in particular, where you can just pinpoint crowd control people. Polymorph does mess this up a lot, but unless you're in super high-end Arena, you're not going to run into very much high-star polymorphs. You kind of get away with it, or it just does some nice healing if the target's turn meter is below 50%. So you can use that to your advantage. So a great A1. 80 resist in all battles. Aura, amazing. And then a great passive. Same one as Elva, healing every ally by 10% max HP at the start of their turn. And then a 50% chance to remove freeze and fear debuffs from each ally at the start of their turn. That's great for Arena to give you a nice combo there against freeze champions. Removing fear is also decent for Arena and great also for Hydra to deal with Head of Torment. And, oh, by the way, she fully removes all debuffs from Rotus at the start of Rotus's turn, which is a terrifying thing. There is a reason, guys, that probably the scariest wave in all of Doom Tower is the Siphi plus Rotus wave. What is it, like 2 Siphis and 3 Rotus? There's a reason that that is so terrifying. The base stats of Siphi, she's so tanky, keeps cleansing the Rotus, and Rotus does Rotus stuff, and it's a nightmare. But yeah, Siphi, in my books, is the best reviver in the game. She is number 1. So there you go. Let me know what you think. There were some interesting ones here. I do feel a little bit bad because I was obviously in the faction games and I use Wiranon on the test server. I don't have her in the real game, but I used her on the test server, right? And she was actually great for me, but I feel like she doesn't compare to these other revivers overall. But I honestly think you look at the revivers in the game, these are some of the best champions in the game, and you've got actually some really good options across every rarity as well, and they are well worth using. So thank you for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if I spurned any of your picks. Was I wrong about anything? What do you think about these champions? And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.